So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Hanuki back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Friday, April 16th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is in fact April 16th. It is Friday. We will finish off this week of podcast here today as we head into another weekend full of sports. We got baseball all weekend. We got Rangers have games on Saturday and they have a game on Sunday. The Nets play tonight, so we head into the weekend. Yankees also play tonight. We head into the weekend with a lot of good sports, with a lot of excitement in sports, especially with the Rangers. We won last night 4-0. Igor Shesterkin with his second straight shutout of the season, of his career, I believe. Second straight shutout. Obviously, I don't think he's ever had a shutout before. So obviously he has had, the other game was his first. Now this is his second. So back-to-back shutouts against a Devils team that has been struggling, but we're taking advantage of it. We have been taking advantage of it. We have been, beating them. I love the way we started last night. I know a lot of people are going to talk about the 4 goals and how good we looked throughout the game, but the way we started that game was amazing. We were getting pressure on the net. We scored a goal 42 seconds, I believe, into the game, or like something like that. It was 40-something seconds in the game. We scored a quick goal, and we didn't slow down from there. We scored 3 goals in the first period, added 1 on in the second, didn't get any in the third. The game started in the third, towards the end of the second period, and really most of the third, the game was played a lot in the neutral zone. No team was really able to get set up, and that goes for power plays too. The Devils yesterday were never able to get set up and get a good chance on goal. They were never able to. So the Rangers took advantage of that, and the Rangers got a really good win. I understand it's the Devils. I understand it's a struggling team, but I mentioned this the other day. This should be 4 straight wins for us. We've got 2 so far. We just need to get 2 more. This should be 4 easy wins to put us in prime position to get to the playoffs. And we are now 4 points out of the playoff spot with our win yesterday. The Bruins lost. The Bruins played today. They're on a second half of the back-to-back. So I'm hoping the Islanders can win that, and then the Rangers can try in their best. I mean, the Rangers, they can keep winning, but if the Bruins keep winning, well, there's a problem. So we'll see how it all plays out. But the Rangers continue to make a playoff push. They continue. So we'll see how it all plays out. Hopefully the Rangers do make the playoffs. That's obviously the hope. It would be great for this young team to make the playoffs. Even though we're going through a little bit of a rebuild, that would just go to show you how good the rebuild has been to hit the playoffs. So it's going to be tough, but there's still a great chance. We're only 4 points behind the playoff spot. We've got 48. Or no, I believe we're only 4 points behind. We've got 48. I believe Boston's got 52. 4 points behind. So golden opportunity to still win some of these games. So that was that for the Rangers. Nets didn't play yesterday, like I said. Yankees didn't either, so it was really just the Rangers on last night for me, which was good. It was good, obviously, instead of watching it on my phone sometimes, because if there's other stuff on, you got to watch it on a different device. But, Nets play today. Yankees play today. Other than that, that's kind of it for the night in sports. Knicks play today. A lot of New York sports was kind of off yesterday. Knicks were off. Yankees were off. Mets got rained out. Nets were off. Islanders did play, Rangers played, so the 2 hockey teams did play. But other than that, it was kind of a quiet night for New York sports in that matter. So, so that's what I got there. These are the topics for today. We got Jack Eichel. He has a season-ending injury. His season will come to an end. He had obviously a neck injury. It happened a couple weeks ago, or not a couple weeks ago, about a month or 2 ago. He got a neck injury. They put him on IR, injured reserved. They kind of figured, you know what, we'll see how it all plays out. Sure enough, the Sabres, first of all, are the worst team in the NHL, and I get they won last night and they beat the best team in the Capitals, but they're still the worst team in the NHL. They still aren't playing for anything. The season's over. They're not making the playoffs. As a matter of fact, they might be mathematically eliminated from the playoffs at this point. I don't know if they're mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, but I'm sure that's coming soon. They're like 20-something points out of a playoff spot, so they ain't making the playoffs. They're about to enter a huge rebuild, so it only makes sense for Jack Eichel to just say, you know what, get season-ending surgery, be ready for next year training camp. So I'll get into this, and I'll tell you how this could be interesting, because I noticed it was interesting how he was going to miss the rest of the season, get this surgery on the neck, so then he could be ready for training camp next season, which I thought was interesting because with all these rumors floating around about, oh, Jack Eichel might go here, Jack Eichel might go here, Jack Eichel's going to get traded, he might have just shot that all down. And the reason I say that is because if he means to be ready for next year's training camp, that could very well mean I got to be ready to, be a Buffalo Sabre again. That could very well mean that. That could very well be the case. So I'll get into that. Kind of want to talk about just the Sabres situation too, kind of to look into their future, what more moves they could make in the off season. So we'll get into that. Then some more draft stuff. Today I'm going to talk about Travis Etienne from the University of Clemson. One of the better running backs in the draft. Really, probably in my opinion, he might be the best running back in the draft. But the running backs this year are very good, but a lot of times running backs this season running backs in the draft are not always, especially this season, usually don't go first round. You might catch some that go first round, like this season. You might get one that goes first round, but the Jets very well could take a first round or him in the second round. I'll tell you how Travis Etienne is huge if the New York Jets go ahead and take him. And I'm going to kind of talk about just him in general. What player, how he is, what he does well, some of the things that he could bring to an offense like the New York Jets and to an offense in any NFL, because we're not too sure where he can go. A lot of people believe he'll go to the Jets. A lot of people believe he's going to go to another team. It's tough to predict guys that go late first round, early second round, because all these picks before them have to be made. So we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, so anyway, we'll get into Travis Etienne. Then we'll get into the New York Sports Update. The usual New York Sports Update. Nets play today. Rangers day off. Islanders play today. Yankees play today. Obviously, that should be good. Yankees should find a way to get a win. Mets also, I believe, play today. Do the Mets? Yes, Mets do play today. They start up a series against the Colorado Rockies, if I'm remembering correctly, in Colorado. So we got to see how that plays out. Yankees, we got to get a win. A couple wins, please. Do us a favor and win a series. Like, it would be nice. It's easy to beat Baltimore and win a series, but when you can't beat Blue Jays, when you can't beat the Rays, when you can't beat the Blue Jays twice, you can't beat the Rays, that's not a recipe for a successful season. So, and the Yankees too. We have a tough schedule coming up. We got the Rays this series today, a 3-game set today, tomorrow, and Sunday, which is extremely difficult. I don't care how good the Rays are. It's difficult. The Yankees, something about the Yankees, they just can't beat the Rays. And then you obviously got then you have the Braves. I believe then you have the Indians or the Braves coming up, which are two fairly good teams as well. I'm not crazy scared of the Indians, but the Braves are starting to heat up. So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, Yankees, we got to find a way to get a win. We got to find a way to do something, get a win, whatever that is, do something. So we'll get into all that good stuff. But with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So Sabres, Jack Eichel, to have surgery on neck injury, miss the rest of the season. So it sounds pretty bad, to say the very least. I mean, it sounds bad, doesn't sound good. It just doesn't sound good at all. It doesn't sound good. It sounds bad. And to be honest, it makes sense why he's going to be out for the year. Now, let me just give you a little bit of the timeline for the Buffalo Sabres. And like I said, I'm going to talk about Jack Eichel, but I'm also going to talk about, I'm going to talk about Jack Eichel, but I'm also going to talk about the Sabres, because I feel like this kind of ties in to the Buffalo Sabres this season. This kind of ties in to how the Buffalo Sabres have been playing. So Jack Eichel and the Buffalo Sabres entered this year, and I've talked about this a couple times on the podcast. I talked about it when I was talking about the Sabres and firing their head coach. I talked about it during the Taylor Hall rumors. I talked about it after the Taylor Hall got traded, and now I'm talking about it again. So about 4 or 5 times I've talked about the Buffalo Sabres on this podcast, and they are the worst team in the NHL. They are not a good team. They have been struggling. So it only makes sense for Jack Eichel, their best player, I would say, to get season-ending surgery and be ready for next season. So this year, and a lot of times this does happen with teams, and we've seen this. We've seen it in the NFL. We've seen it in this case. We've seen it in this case. We've seen it in many other cases where a team goes out, gets a very solid player, gets a guy like a Taylor Hall, has a guy like a Jack Eichel, thinks they can be competitive, and all of a sudden, things just go downhill from there. And that could very well be coaching. That could just be the fact that the player's not having a good year. That could just be the fact that Taylor Hall and the Buffalo Sabres just didn't work out. That's also an option. That's very well the case. It could have just been that the Buffalo Sabres, Taylor Hall, and the Jack Eichel combo didn't work out. Taylor Hall did score a goal yesterday, so maybe he did score a goal yesterday with the Bruins. Maybe he just needed a fresh start with a different team, new uniform, different organization, and a contending team like the Boston Bruins instead of the Buffalo Sabres. So the Sabres, I would say now, are completely their roster's busted at this point. And I understand they won last night, but please, don't sit here and say, oh, well, they won last night. No. Yes, they won, but they're still completely out of the playoff. And with Jack Eichel getting season and injury, I think this is obvious that they're going to turn to a lot of young guys, a lot of guys that they probably have no clue. You probably might not have no clue who they are, and they're going to turn to them, and they're going to play them. And I think that's clearly going to be the case officially now that Jack Eichel's done for the year. But I thought this was interesting because there's been so many rumors going around about Jack Eichel, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a team that is going to enter a massive rebuild. Jack Eichel is a guy that spoke very kind of down about the way the new organization was headed in terms of success-wise, and he talked about that. He said, I'm tired of losing. I want better players on this roster. They went out, got Taylor Hall. They were competitive through the first couple games of the season, and then all of a sudden, everything went downhill. Jack Eichel, it really all started. They had the outbreak because of the COVID outbreak. Then they came back, and it really all started right then and there. After the COVID outbreak, and I don't want to blame it on that, but you very well could, they looked terrible. That's when I believe they started their 18-game losing streak. Because I believe before that, they were on like a 2-3 game losing streak. They went into their shutdown, then they came out of it and continued that. So if it wasn't for that, are they more competitive? Maybe. I'm not going to sit here and make that excuse because there's a lot of teams out there that have had COVID issues this year, and they've been able to bounce back, and they've been able to still be successful. Some teams missing. The Rangers haven't had knock on wood so far. The Rangers have been good, but they've even had some games postponed due to other teams. So we'll see how it plays out. But we'll see how it plays out with the Sabres. So anyway, back to my Jack Eichel point. This was a team who thought they were going to be solid, thought they were going to be successful, thought they were going to be, competitive, and I thought that too. I thought that really too. Like, I really thought this was going to be a team that was going to battle in the East. Are they going to make the playoffs? I don't know, but I knew they were going to be competitive. And I said at the beginning of the year, this is a Sabres team, Taylor Hall, Jack Eichel, Ullmark in goal, Ristolainen, and some of the other young guys sprinkled in here. You're looking at a roster that very well can be competitive. And they didn't get it done. But I thought this was interesting. With all the rumors, obviously, like I said before, going around about Jack Eichel, going around about this Sabres team, going around about the future of him and his team, future of him with this team, I thought it was really interesting how he said he wanted to be back for training camp. He said I'm going to do it so he could be back for training camp. And I don't want to start all these, interesting, thoughts and all these, interesting, predictions and stuff like this. But this could very well mean that he could possibly be on his way to returning with the Buffalo Sabres if he wants to come back and be ready for training camp, which is interesting because he's said so much about this organization. Hey, not bad stuff, But he said that he's tired of losing. He wants to win. And this is a guy who's, coming up all through, the USA teams and the junior teams. He's won a lot. He's won before. He'd come to the Sabres. He struggled. So, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But when you're losing your captain and Jack Eichel, obviously a guy now who is obviously their captain, they really believe the leader of the team. He's still young. He's got so much talent. People don't realize how much talent Eichel has. He's got so much talent. And I don't want to say the Sabres are wasting that talent, but he's got a ton of talent. And in a way, I feel like the Sabres are not wasting his prime, but not taking full advantage of it. Build around him. Put good players around him. They tried with Taylor Hall. It didn't work out. But even then, Taylor Hall, I would rather go out and try to get someone else. So, something like that. But this just concludes the Ranger season. This just officially shows Eichel's getting surgery. Forget about it. This team is going to enter a massive rebuild. Jack Eichel, it seems, will be the part of it. But some of the things about his game that he brings to the table is he brings really good puck movement. He's very good with the puck. Talk about assists this season. He's had 16 assists and 2 goals, which is awful for him, a guy who's supposed to score a lot of goals. Only had 2 goals this season, and that was shortened, but still, 2 goals through the 15, 20 games that he played is really bad. And another thing, too, about him is he can rack up the assists, too. He can get good goals. Another thing, too, is he's smart. He plays the game smart. And I know I say this about a lot of players, but it's the truth. You got to be smart in order to play a sport. He is. He knows what he's going to do with the puck. A lot of times, he's a good decision maker, too, with the puck, passing it up ice, getting it to his forwards, on the attacking side of things, getting back on defense. It's the simple stuff. It might not. He's always making some sort of impact. And I think his impact will be felt even more now that he's going to be the only guy. Because this team's going to strip down. This is going to be one of the worst Buffalo Sabres teams next season that we've seen in a long time. And maybe they're revamped. Maybe they go out and say, you know what? Let's try and go out and get, another good player. Let's try and go out and get a solid player and see if we could do this again. Maybe they do that. I don't think so. I think they stack up with young players, try to load up on draft picks, and, build from there. But it always got to start with the right coach with the Buffalo Sabres. And I think Jack Eichel might have some say in that, because if you hire the right coach, that definitely helps your team. If you don't hire the right coach, you could see how it could set back an organization 3-4 years. And that's what it's done here with the Sabres. They hired Ralph Kruger. He hasn't been the answer. He didn't do well with them. He got fired this season. And now it's finally time to go ahead and say, you know what? They gotta get the right guy in here. Hope that the GM and the front office does their job. Now, that's the one problem. And this is why Buffalo has not had a very solid hockey team. And I don't mean this in a mean way. But Buffalo, they're small organizations, small market sports teams. They're very small. Neither Buffalo teams have ever won a Super Bowl. The Sabres or the Bills. Now, the Bills have never won a Super Bowl. Sabres have never won a Stanley Cup. The Bills are close to getting to the Super Bowl and winning it. Sabres are not even close to getting to the Stanley Cup. So, a lot of times, players, they always want to go to some of these high-class organizations. And that is in hockey, that's in MLB, that's in NHL. They want to go to these high-class organizations where you're not going to forget about them. A lot of people forget about the Buffalo Sabres. They're kind of just out of the middle of nowhere, playing at their arena. It's kind of just like, they're kind of just out there. And I don't know if you're going to drag a top player to go, sometimes locations big, onto where players want to go. That's why, some of these other teams like the Lakers and them, big, Los Angeles, popular, all the stars are there. That's why they got a good team. And you see some of these teams, they're not very good because some players just don't want to go play there. New York sports, for example, big market, an opportunity to succeed. When you're playing well, boy, the world's going to hear about you. Whether that's football, whether that's baseball, whether that's hockey, basketball, We see what happened to the Nets. They were a team no one wanted to go to. KD, Kyrie, and Harden show up, and all of a sudden, they're the talk of the NBA. So I don't know if Buffalo will turn into that, but they got to get the right coach in here. And I think it all starts with the Sabres. They got to get the right coach in. They've got to, absolutely got to get the coach right. Because we've seen what happens when teams get the coach right. The Jets, I believe, got their coach right. The Sabres need to get their coach right. And then they can really start that rebuild, that what are we going to do with some of these guys, that start over period. We'll see how it plays out. Sabres Jack Eichel did have surgery on neck injury, miss rest of the season. The Buffalo Sabres announced center Jack Eichel will miss the remainder of the 2020-2021 season because of a herniated disc in his neck, so not very good there. Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet reported Wednesday that Eichel, who last played March 7th, will have surgery soon so he can begin recovery and preparations for next season. The 24-year-old Boston University product is one of NHL's most dynamic offensive talents when healthy. He's recorded 355 points, 139 goals, and 216 assists across 375 games since the Sabres selected him with the second overall pick in the 2015 draft. He tallied 2 goals and 16 helpers in 21 appearances this season. Eichel has remained mostly durable during his time in Buffalo. His absence because of the upper body injury marked his first extended time out of the lineup since suffering a high ankle sprain in back-to-back seasons 2016 and 17 and 2017 and 2018. Sam Reinhardt should continue to serve as the team's top-line center after shifting over from right wing. It could also lead to more of opportunities for resurgent Casey Milstad in offensive situations. Eichel is a critical piece of an otherwise struggling Sabres offense. It always made sense for the team to play it safe, with its captain following the latest since they fall well short of a contender category again this season, and he remains a foundational cornerstone for the future. And I believe that too. Quick article there, by the way. I believe that too. You know, I get it. A lot of people, and this happens in all sports, people right away will just want to jump to the fact that they just want to jump to, oh, we should trade this guy, or oh, we should get rid of this guy, or oh, let's trade for this guy, trade this guy, get this guy. People all of a sudden want to jump to that. We all do it sometimes. It's how sports are. Fans are like that. So, everyone's like that. Sometimes fans get jumpy. Organizations get jumpy, and they just feel the need to just get rid of everything and just try to do something better, right? And that's what always happens. And I've talked about this a couple times on this podcast, where sometimes teams, feel the need to just make a move or two when they don't need to make that move. And that a lot of time hurts the team. So, and I thought this article really, really, really nailed it right on the head. That he is going to be the future of this team. And I still believe that. Now, if he was healthy and he wasn't playing well, and the Sabres got a call, and it was maybe, we'll give you a first rounder and this guy for Jack Eichel, would the Sabres accepted it? They might have, because they're getting a first round pick. They're getting another young asset, and they're giving up a young asset. But frankly, Taylor Hall could be a superstar. Or not Taylor Hall, rather. Jack Eichel could be. Taylor Hall used to be a superstar. Jack Eichel could be. Jack Eichel has the talent to be one of the top players in this game. We've seen that before. We've seen what he can do when he's healthy, when he's on his game. And we've seen that. We've seen what he can do. And we've seen what he can do with the puck. He's so good. He is so good. And, we've seen what he can do with the puck. We've seen what he can do shooting. I really believe what the Sabres should do with him is, take him, build around him, and just go ahead and, just build around him and, start over. Have him as the centerpiece of the organization. That's what I would do. That's what I would do if I was the Buffalo Sabres. Right, so that's what I would do. And another thing too is with the Sabres here, and I'll get to Jack Eichel stats in a second. What I thought was interesting is like, and Eichel has expressed some of his frustrations, right? He has expressed that. He's expressed that many occasions, many times. He's expressed his frustrations. What if Eichel has some say, what if Eichel has some say in, what if Eichel has some say, what if Eichel has some say in the next coach? That could very well be an option. So let me just get up Eichel's stats here. So let me just get up Eichel's stats here, and then we'll read you these. And I'm going to read you some of his other season stats as well, just to go to show you how good he could be. All right, so like I mentioned, this season earlier, 2 goals, 16 assists, 18 points. That's not good at all. He's been getting assists, but that's just not good. It's not good enough, especially for a guy that can score a lot of goals. That's not good enough. And it's crazy to think that he's already played 5 years in the NHL. Now, he's only 24, which is because he came into the league very young. He has 139 career goals, 216 career assists, 355 points. We've seen what he can do when he's healthy. He's one of the better players out there when he's healthy, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that's the truth. When he's out there, he's one of the better players, a guy who, is only 24. He's got so much room to grow, and that's another thing, too, with the Buffalo Sabres I would do. If you are going to enter a rebuild, you're going to want to surround with young talent. Even though he's been in the league for 5 years already, he came in when he was 19. He came in when he was really young. I would go ahead. He's only 24. There's so much more room, so much more time for him to grow and learn, right? That's what they got to do. So, I think it's pivotal for the Sabres to get the coach right, because if they get the coach right, already your rebuild is off to a right start, and we've seen that in all sports. Right when they get the coach right, the rebuild's off to a right start. Then you've got to, slowly but surely build, gain draft picks, and build through that way. I don't know if they should really build through trying to go out there and get some other free agents. I would say go out there, build through the draft, bring in guys that are going to be young, they're going to be good future players, bring them in with Jack Eichel, get the coach right first of all. People don't realize, and I don't understand, people don't realize how important a head coach is to any team, whether that's the NHL, the NFL, the MLB, or the NBA. The NBA, you could debate about the coach. I've had these debates all the time. But they got to get the coach right. They didn't get the coach right in Kruger. See what happened. They got to get the coach right in the they got to get the coach right here in order to be really solid. And it all starts with that. And I think if you bring in the right coach, if Jack Eichel likes that coach, does well with him, thrives under him, Jack Eichel's learning, the other players are learning, it's going to be a patient rebuild for the Buffalo Sabres. And believe me, as a Rangers fan, we went through a rebuild. It wasn't as bad as what I think the Sabres are going to go through. I think the Sabres are going to go through a really, really, really deep rebuild. But in terms of, the Rangers rebuild, even though we're going through a rebuild, we're still competitive. And I think that's what the Sabres want next season. Stanley Cup is obviously the goal of every team, but you got to have some other goals too. At least be competitive next year. You have to at least be competitive next season. You have to. You can't be at the bottom of your division. If you're at the bottom of your division next season, then there's a serious problem in terms of, competitiveness. The rebuild isn't going right. There's a serious problem there. There's a serious problem if you can't get the rebuild right, or if you can't be competitive next year. The Sabres should at least be somewhat competitive. If that's not next year, it should be the year after that. It all starts with the coach. We've seen this. Believe me, I've had a lot of sports teams where, where they've went through rebuilds. The Jets have gone through rebuilds. We're still going through one, but it's looking brighter. Rangers are also going through a rebuild, but they look like they're coming out of it a little bit too. The Nets were going through a massive rebuild. We kind of took a shortcut. We kind of just went out there and got all the big names. So we didn't really have a team that was young, up and coming, growing stuff. The Yankees haven't really gone through much rebuilds. They've been good the past couple seasons, although they're still frustrating me. So believe me, if you're gonna ask me first, there's so many times where I'm sitting there when I watch a team make a move or something, I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, that makes no sense. So the Sabres got to get this right, and I think it all starts with the head coaching hire. Coming up next, we're going to get into some Travis Etienne stuff, or ATM. Travis Etienne, his name has been popping around a lot. There's been a lot of talk about him. Been a lot of, just a lot of talk about Travis Etienne. I will tell you my thoughts on him and what the Jets should do if they take him, or should they take him. I will tell you all that good stuff coming up next. Alrighty, let's get this up here. So obviously the draft is... So the draft here is only 13 days away now, because yesterday was 2 weeks, so now it's 13, whatever. I'm not going to be that person that says, oh, well, if you count today, blah, 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 blah. No. 13 days until the NFL draft. A lot of draft stuff coming up on the podcast. I was thinking, before I get into the whole Etienne stuff, I don't know if I'll do it. I don't think I probably will. But, doing because I don't have all the stuff for it. But if you do, a live stream during, draft day, which would be, a live stream during draft day, or, a pre-draft show where I do all my stuff pre-draft and then kind of, head into the actual draft. I think that could be an option. But I don't know if I'll do it, or if I'm just going to do a pod, do my mock draft, upload it, and boom, that's that for the day. Because, to be honest, during the draft, there's no need to be watching me if you're watching the draft as well. Me watching the draft. So, I would go ahead and say I probably won't, but it's an option that I was thinking about doing, because the NFL draft, and any draft, is special. Especially with the Jets this season having so much picks. There's going to be a lot of action around the Jets. Sometimes I'm right. I watch the draft, then the Jets pick comes. Once the Jets pick is in, I'm really, I'm sitting there thinking of all the different options the Jets could have done, and then finally the pick's made, and hopefully it's the right move. Hopefully it's the move that I like. Last season it was. The past couple seasons it has been good, and then obviously this season I hope it's Wilson. And then with the second first-round pick, I have guys that I would want to take, but when the pick actually comes and I know who's available, that's when I will really make my decision of, oh man, if this guy's there, we've got to take advantage of that. So, Travis Etienne, we're going to get into today. There's going to be many players that I'm going to be talking about, not just that have ties with the Jets, but that guys like Mac Jones, guys like Justin Fields, all those different guys. There are going to be many guys I'm going to be talking about. That's what's so fun about draft week, is making all of your predictions, where this guy's going to go, where this guy's going to go, what this guy's going to do, what this team's going to do. There's been so much stuff. And I'll tell you what, the San Francisco 49ers are one of the more intriguing teams right now, holding that third overall pick. They are it's weird because they're playing like a game with us. 1 minute it's, people think that they're going to take Mac Jones. The next minute it's, Justin Fields. The next minute we see Kyle Shanahan talking to Justin Fields. The next minute we hear that the GM wants Mac Jones. It's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? There's so much stuff. And that they're one of the more intriguing ones. They're one of the more that if I was a San Francisco 49ers fan going into the draft, I would just go ahead and say, you know what? We've got two quarterbacks to pick from. Just take one of them, whoever it is. I'll try to like it. whatever the case may be. That's what I would do. But they're one of the more intriguing teams. So there's a lot of things out there that are going to the NFL draft. There's a lot of teams, obviously, a lot of rebuilding teams that, will try and, really ramp up the rosters this season. A lot of teams that are on the verge of contending will try to make that final piece or two, and hopefully that they can get in, something like that. But Travis Etienne, running back for Clemson, has been very, very good with Clemson. I mean, it's a guy who has broken so many records with the ACC, has broken so many Clemson records, has broken records all over the place. This is a guy who has had such a good career with Clemson. He's had 2 1,000-yard rushing seasons. A guy who almost every year, his name is somewhere in the Heisman. His name is somewhere in ACC Player of the Year. His name is somewhere in, best player in the Clemson team. His name is always somewhere. I feel like every run, it seems, or every game, he's doing something that's going to go down in the history books. And that's really been what he has done his entire career in the NFL draft. And he's been surrounded by great players at Clemson. Obviously he's been surrounded by great players. Obviously, when he was there with Lawrence and stuff like that, then he came, with Lawrence, was still with Clemson with Lawrence, and I do think he might have played, I don't know if he played with Watson. He might have played with Watson his rookie year. I'm not sure, though. Because, no, I don't think he did. No, Watson got drafted, I think, a year before he did. But he's played with Lawrence. He's played with a lot of young talent. He's played with a lot of guys. He's played under one of the best coaches in the nation, Dabo Swinney. So he's gotten a lot of learning, which is what I find great about him. And he's gotten a lot of learning. He's learned from some of the best. He's learned from Dabo Swinney. It's obviously he stood in the backfield next to Trevor Lawrence. In the plays, he took handoffs from Trevor Lawrence. Like, that's special. That's something special because Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent. He was teammates with him. He was really close with him. They obviously built chemistry with each other throughout the past couple seasons. So I think it's right that he's one of the better running backs in the draft. Now, this draft has a lot of good running backs. It's got Najee Harris, Travis Etienne. Personally, Najee Harris is good and all. He's a good power back, scores a lot of touchdowns. He's going to score a lot of touchdowns. He is. He's going to score a ton. There's a lot of guys. Trey Sermon, Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, all those different guys. Now, Etienne's name, if he lands to the Jets, I would love the Jets to take him. I think this would be a great move. He would be a perfect scheme fit, too. And the reason I think this is because he can catch the ball out of the backfield, which I love. He is very good at receiving. You can make the argument his receiving is just as good as his rushing. You can make the argument. This season he had 588 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 12.3 was his average. He had his best receiving season this year. 48 catches, 588 yards, 12.3 was his average per catch. A guy who in his career has had 1,155 receiving yards on 102 receptions, 11.3 his average, and 8 touchdowns for him have been receiving. He's got 70 rushing touchdowns. So this is a guy who knows what he's doing in the receiving game. And the Jets like to do that. They like to spread guys out. They will love to use a running back like him that he can receive and he can run. And running backs in this league are turning into more versatile backs, more guys that can be, can receive, they can also rush, they can also make plays on, whatever the case may be. That's what the NFL is turning into. You don't believe me? I'll give you a couple examples. You got guys like Christian McCaffrey, very good receiving back, also very good running back. You got guys like Saquon Barkley when healthy. He can receive, he can also run. Derrick Henry, he can receive, but he is mainly running. I'll give it that. Aaron Jones has developed a really good receiving back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire can receive. I'm just trying to think of some of the other big names out there that could receive. Oh, Alvin Kamara, very good receiving back. Alvin Kamara. You got Dalvin Cook. He could receive, but I would say he's probably mainly running, but he could definitely receive. Let me think of who are some other guys. Oh, well, no, he's not a great example. Derrick Henry, I already said. But there's a lot. There's a lot out there. There's a lot out there that could receive and be really, really, really big threats. You got guys like, You got guys on the Bengals, Joe Mixon, he can receive. You got guys like Nick Chubb, who has been able to receive before. They've also got Kareem Hunt, who's more of the receiving back for them. So there's a lot of guys in the NFL. Majority of the running backs now can receive, and a majority of them can do it really, really, really well. And Travis Etienne is like that a lot. He does that. He can run. He can give you 1,000-yard plus season, but he can also give you 1,000-plus yards receiving, and that's so good. People don't realize how hard it is to get 1,000 yards in a year, rushing, and then 1,000 yards receiving as well. This is a guy who can get 2,000 all-purpose yards, 2,000 total yards. This is a guy who can do, and I mean that's really solid. That is really, really solid, and I think this would be a perfect scheme fit for the New York Jets. He would be a guy that can receive out of the backfield, West Coast offense, a lot of play action. A lot of times the running backs are, going out and running like that. You got a lot of good run plays. This is a guy, too, who when he runs, he definitely stretches the field. In his career with Clemson, he had an average of 7.2 yards per run, which is unbelievable considering NFL 4 yards per run is really good. He's getting 7 in college. 70 touchdowns rushing in his career. 90 was his longest touchdown in his career. He's gone 686 carries, which you can't say isn't a lot because he has. I mean, this season, his 2020 stats, 168 carries, 914 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5.4 was his average, 14 touchdowns this season, which is just another mark that's very good. And to be honest, his rushing was third best in his 4-year span. So he didn't have a great year rushing. He had a good year rushing, but it wasn't as good as some of his other years. But at the same time this season, he did do the most damage he has done all of his career with 588 receiving yards. So, I mean, if people don't think that's good, I don't know what to tell you. Because he's an all-purpose back. He can receive. He can run. He can do it all. He has done a lot with Clemson. Has experienced winning. He can bring some of that winning into any locker room. He's young. He takes a lot of good knowledge. He fits into that scheme of that West Coast, using the running backs a lot, play action type running game, play action type offense. He fits that scheme. I think this would be a great picker for the New York Jets. And he even said the other day, he would love to be on a scheme for like a team like the Jets or any team. He believes he would fit right in. And I think that's really good. Because I think he's very confident too. He's got a lot of confidence. Whenever he gets the ball, when he gets the ball, he's just straight run. He's straight speed. Sure, when he gets to the second and third level of the, when he gets to second and third level, linebackers and safety, he'll definitely show off his moves. But if you need him to grind out 4 yards, he can do it. If you need him to get him 13 yards, he can do it. If he needs to get you a receiving play, he can go out there and do that too. A very good back, versatile, really quick. Travis Etienne, I think this would be a perfect pickup for the New York Jets. So, that's what I got for him. And we've seen, Clemson coming out of one of the best football schools out there. So, that's what I got there. Alrighty, so let's get into some of the scores. Yesterday in the NBA, the Celtics won, Suns won, Warriors won, and Bucks won. As for today, we got the Jazz, Pacers, I'll give Jazz the win. 76ers, Clippers, I'll give Clippers the win. Pelicans, Wizards, I'll give Pelicans the win. Thunder, Pistons, I'll give Thunder the win. Magic, Raptors, I'll give Raptors the win. Bulls, Grizzlies, give Bulls the win. Or Grizzlies the win, actually. Heat, Timberwolves, I'll give Heat the win. Nuggets, Rockets, give Nuggets the win. Blazers, Spurs, give Blazers the win. Mavericks, Knicks, I will give Mavericks the win. Nets also play today. Nets come in this game 37-18. Hornets come in this game 27-27. This game comes on today, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This game can be found on Yes 2. I believe I believe he should be back in the game. The Nets are 12.5-point favorites. So, 53% of people are going for the Nets. I'm going to give the Nets the win. KD's back. Kyrie's back. I'll give them the win. And then the Nets play on Sunday against the Heat. But I will give you my game pick about that. I will decide who I pick on that depending on how today's game goes. So, that's what we'll do there. As for the NHL yesterday, the Stars won, Red Wings won, Flyers won, Bruins won, Sabres won, Lightning won, Hurricanes won, and Jets won. Rangers also won 4-0. We moved to 21-16 and 6 on the season. Just another great game. 3 assists by Colin Blackwell, an assist by Artemi Panarin, 2 goals by Artemi Panarin, 2 assists by Strome, an assist by Zibanejad, an assist by Adam Fox, a goal by Ryan Lindgren, and a goal by Jacob Trouba. And obviously Panarin led the way with 2 goals. I mean, he's just so good. Canadiens, Flames, I'll give Canadiens the win. Bruins, Islanders, I'll give Islanders the win. Even though the Bruins are favored, Islanders, please win. Wild, Sharks, I'll give Wild the win. Avalanche, Kings, give Avalanche the win. And Golden Knights, Ducks, give Golden Knights the win. And as for the Rangers play back-to-back tomorrow and Sunday. I'm feeling confident about both those games. That's what I'll say there. As for yesterday's MLB games, Dodgers won, A's won, Royals won, Rangers won, Diamondbacks won, Mariners won, Indians won, Twins won, Braves won, Padres won, and Mariners won. As for today, we got the Braves, Cubs, I'll give Braves the win. Phillies, Cardinals, give Phillies the win. Nationals, Diamondbacks, give Nationals the win. Giants, Marlins, give Giants the win. Indians, Reds, give Indians the win. White Sox, Red Sox, give White Sox the win. Rangers, Orioles, give Rangers the win. Blue Jays, Royals, give Blue Jays the win. Next game up here is Brewers, Pirates, I'll give Brewers the win. Angels, Twins, give Angels the win. A's, Tigers, give A's the win. Mariners, Astros, give the Cheaters the win. And then Dodgers, Padres. That's going to be a fun game. I'll give Dodgers the win. Mets also played today. Mets come in this game 5-3. Rockies are 3-10. DeGrom's on the mound. 8:40 p.m. Eastern Time on Sportsnet RM. I'm going to give the Mets the win here because Jacob DeGrom is on the mound and the Rockies are not having a good season. As for the Yankees play today. Yankees come in this game 5-7. Rays come in this game 5-8. This game comes on today, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on MLB Network. You can also find this game on Yes Network. Michael Wacha's on the mound for the Rays. Starter is not announced yet for the Yankees. It could be many different players. Either way, until the Yankees can show that they can hit more than 5 times a game, I'm going to give Rays the win. I hate to say it, but hopefully the Yankees win, but they've just had our number. So we'll see how it all plays out. And as for fantasy baseball, I'm currently winning 184-59, so going pretty good there. Today I've got going Yerman Mercedes, Jake Cronenworth, Gene Segura, Josh Johnson, Carlos Correa, Marcus Semien, Matt Olson, Whit Merrifield, Austin Meadows, Victor Robles, Dylan Carlson, Michael Taylor, and Will Smith. And I've got Frankie Montas and Zach Eflin on the mound there. The injury update is as followed. Gavin Lux was scratched from yesterday's lineup due to hand soreness. Obviously, like I said, other than that, though, it's been pretty clean. I still got 3 guys on the IL. Bregman, Voit, and Nola. Nola should be better. He should be returning soon, but he's missed a lot of time. He has missed a lot of time, but he should be back soon, I would say. Mercedes has been just dominant. I mean, he's just been so good. And as for today, we got, as for fantasy basketball, I'm currently losing 855 to 551. Today I've got going Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, Jeremy Grant, Jonas Valanciunas, Fred VanVleet, Bradley Beal, Pascal Siakam. Injury update is as followed. Jeremy Grant's day-to-day. Grant will be rested for Friday's game against Oklahoma City. So he'll be out there. Pascal Siakam day-to-day. Siakam rest, will not play Friday against Orlando. Josh Lewenberg of TSN.ca reports. So he's still out. Lowry rest, will not play Friday against Orlando. Josh Lewenberg of TSN.ca reports. So guys still out of lineup. Guys are still out of the lineup. And let's get into fantasy hockey here, and then we'll finish off the podcast. As for fantasy hockey, I'm currently winning 76 to 68, so going pretty good there. Today I've got going Anzez Kopitar, Jeff Petrie, Shea Theodore, Shea Weber, and Johnny Gaudreau. And I've got Semyon Varlamov and Cam Talbot in goal. Got some injury news yesterday. Steven Stamkos' lower body was placed on long-term injured reserve, retroactive to April 8th per Cap Friendly. So he's going to be out there. Isn't good, but Got the other players like Panarin. They're stepping up, which is big. So he's going to be on long-term IR, which means he'll be out for a pretty long time, which very well could just be the fantasy hockey season. I've already got a guy on IR, so I'm deciding on what I want to do with Stamkos, because if he somehow comes back and the fantasy hockey season isn't done yet, he could be clutch. And I don't want to drop him, someone else pick him up, put him on the IR, and all of a sudden, and he come back, and now he's playing really well. I can't work out a trade. Obviously there's no trades now because the deadline was already is past now. So I would have to, if I'm going to do it, I would have to figure out a way to, because Hopkins is on the, Nugent Hopkins, he's still on the IR. Now, he's been skating, he's been doing better. I think I might just have to be patient with this and just hope that, I just might have to just be patient and just hope that he does not stay on the IR for long, Nugent Hopkins. I activate him and then just put Stamkos on there. But also I gotta see, if I'm in a close matchup, I might need an extra player to play or something. That might be a move I might have to make. It's all roster management. But my fantasy team hasn't gotten hit hard this season with injuries. To be honest, I've had guys on the IR, but that was Eichel who was on the IR, and I dropped him to then put Hopkins on the IR. He's now done for the season. Hopkins, he's been skating on his own. He's been doing much better. So I would hope that, my hope is he comes off soon. I put Stamkos on there, and then perfect, boom, that's the option. But if Hopkins continues to stay on, that's an IR bench spot that he's just taken up. So we'll see how it plays out. Now, the reason I'm not going to drop Hopkins is because he could very well be back very soon. Stamkos might be the better player, but Stamkos is going to be out for a long time. So I'm not going to drop Hopkins if he's going to be back really soon. Hopkins has had a good year, though. So we'll see how it plays out. But guys like Panarin have been stepping up and playing really good. So we'll see how it all plays out. But with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast here today. That will do it for the full week of podcasts. As you all know, I take breaks on the weekend. So everybody enjoy your weekend. I will see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.